Are you an American? I could use your opinion on something. Lately, Sabine Hossenfelder, one of my favorite YouTubers who does a lot of physics videos, released a video called Capitalism is Good. Let me explain. And eventually she got to the definition of capitalism, and this is where I need your opinion on something. Are you surprised to see that capitalism includes rules? If you've been following me for a long time, you've seen that one thing I did get wrong in the past was the international community came after me on my American definition of socialism. Well, it turns out most of us have the wrong definition of capitalism too, because if you're like me, you didn't think that rules would be in there. And as someone who was made famous by Charles Hoskinson saying to read a effing economics book to me, I did verify this with someone who knows a lot more about economics than me, just to make sure these rules are really in there. And I'm refining the graph here because, you know, business, that's usually where we have free markets and emphasis on free, and rules usually fall into the government. There can be some overlap there where rules could fall into the business side. And these rules, this is an accepted part of capitalism, actually, because if without these rules, you don't have free markets. What happens is monopolies form and all sorts of other stuff. And one thing I've added here is public goods. This is something that's necessary. We need our roads and military and everything else that can't be accommodated by free markets alone. If you were surprised to find that those rules and regulations are part of capitalism, well, you're not alone, because this is the view of capitalism that some people want us to have, where any kind of rule is against capitalism. And there is actually a name for this. It's called laissez-faire capitalism. And laissez-faire is French for immature teenage idiot. Because this definition is idiotic, and we know for a fact that we won't have free markets under this situation, and monopolies will form, and there will be no public good. There's so many obvious problems with this. First, I want to talk about hidden communism. Basically, what laissez-faire economics advocate for is the complete destruction of the U.S. government. Most of them worship this Ayn Rand, who coincidentally was from Russia. People who prescribe to this are generally libertarians, and if you ask me, they're nothing more than a foreign attack on our country. And without the government, there is no voting, there is no democracy. The unelected CEOs of these businesses have complete and total free reign over you and me. That's why I call this hidden communism. I would put these kind of laissez-faire libertarian type of people into two categories. Some who are probably getting paid by foreign governments to destroy the United States or to create the hidden communism. And then some other people, that's where the name comes from, the immature teenage idiot. They're a lot like anarchists. Just like free markets can't exist without the rules or regulations of the government, anarchy can only exist in a vacuum. It's just a synonym for please invade this land. You look at history, there's never been a significant geographical region that's been controlled, or I guess not controlled, by anarchy, because it creates a power vacuum. And someone will, like Putin, will quickly come in and take that region if there's anything valuable in there. And both these things, laissez-faire economics and anarchy, that we both know they won't work. They're complete failures. But some people probably don't know that, and they're just kind of the sheeple going along and making people money for destroying this country. For the libertarians, they're more interested in complete and total freedom, but it's kind of interesting because you can shut them up real quick if you ask them if we should privatize the military. or if women should have freedom over their own bodies. And as a real quick note, let's go back to the way things actually work with these rules, regulations, so that trains aren't slopping chemicals all over the place, so that monopolies don't form. Public goods. Now, this is an interesting topic because some things just fall outside of supply and demand. I've done some pretty good speeches about how to decide when things should be nationalized. And the military is one good example. Just no one's going to have that much money in the world, and it doesn't really make a profit, does it? Other situations can be when supply and demand are way out of whack. Like I talked about the privatization of water systems that Biden's doing, what a disaster it's going to be, because we're basically moving backwards. We know the demand is infinity. You can't go without water, and you only have one water pipe coming into your house, so it's going to be a monopoly right off the bat. I don't know what he's thinking. That would be if we had good socialized medicine, and Biden said, well, we're going to privatize medicine, when that medicine is another example of where supply and demand is messed up and it belongs over in this right-hand side. So now you know about the hidden communism, the attack on us from Russia by the libertarians and the laissez-faire economic capitalists. And while I may not have learned economics books in my college, I've learned enough to know that Charles Hoskinson is one of these immature teenage idiots, or as the French would say, laissez-faire.